I'm going to chalk this up to my Nordic brethren being more powerful than Sam's Nordic brethren.
Speak on it.
Hello, and welcome to Baggage Claim, an unofficial Jet Lag the Game companion podcast. We are here to unpack Season 13 Schengen Showdown, Episode 5. I'm Casey.
I'm Kira.
And I'm Jaya.
Kira, what's the last Lego set you built?
The last Lego set I built was in middle school because I was pretty into Legos in middle school. And I think it was like a 3-story restaurant or something like that. And I remember it being physically enormous.
I remember you building like a lot of buildings, houses, because we have like a shelf in our childhood home that's just a bunch of different constructed Lego sets that you did, because I am not skilled at Lego sets at all.
Well, and one of my favorite parts of building the Legos was the shopping experience, because I would always go with our mom, and the person working there would always be like, "Oh, hello, can we interest you in the girls' Legos?" And it would be like the little corner of the Lego sets made for 6-year-olds. And my mom would always be like, my 9-year-old would actually like the Lego sets for the over 18. She's kind of good at Legos. And it always made me feel like cool. And the person working there would always be like, okay.
Our mom has always been a big advocate for gender parity and equity in the Lego building sphere.
I really can, see your mom saying that. I can hear that.
It is so in character for her.
Yeah.
Jaya, did you ever finish the Milky Way Lego set that we started building together?
I sure did. We started it when you were visiting me down in January. It was a present from my mom and my sister for getting my master's degree.
Woohoo!
Due to Masters in Astronomy, what's more fitting than the Lego Milky Way? And so we started building it in January, and over the course of that next week, I completely finished the set. I was pretty much spending an hour or two on it every night. It was so fun.
That's amazing. And I will need to see a photo of this, because I helped only at the very beginning when we were starting to construct the frame, which I found very challenging. Although
it was hard.
My focus was definitely split as I was watching Tag 2 for the first time. So I was somewhat invested on what was happening on the screen.
What do you think, Jaya? Do you think if you really galaxy brained it, you could do it in 45 minutes blindfolded?
First of all, teehee galaxy brain, haha. Second of all, absolutely the fuck not. It was 3,000 pieces and I spent a week on it with my eyes open.
Oh god.
Before we get too far into discussing the challenges of this episode, let's get into a recap. This episode begins with Tom and Sam forfeiting the Sweden challenge, which would have required them to wait until 10 a.m. to find a jungle skog once IKEA opened. Their failure delights Ben and Adam, who are on their way to the Netherlands to attempt to steal. Continuing Team Sam and Tom's string of struggles, they pull the Denmark challenge. Sam helpfully guides a blindfolded Tom to build a very complicated Lego set in 45 minutes. It should be noted that Tom's blindfold is actually a t-shirt he put on his head, which leads to a sequence in which it appears Sam is holding Tom hostage at gunpoint on the floor of a train station to build a toy car. Despite their focus, they don't manage to build the Lego car in time. Maybe a simpler set, like the one they find in the airport later on, would have been more successful. But overall, it's a tough episode for challenges. Ben and Adam land in Amsterdam and attempt the long-awaited bouquet challenge. Through sheer force of will and a lot of panicked running around, they manage to spontaneously manifest the dangerously elusive and out-of-season Christmas rose, which thwarted Sam and Tom earlier in the season. But turns out mimosas were their downfall. Sam reunites with his Nordic brethren as he and Tom fly up to Finland and descend into a tunnel down 2 escalators so long and deep that they rival the DC Metro escalators, where it must be said, I once saw 2 people fall down and then get shot out of the escalator at the bottom.
Oh god.
I can see that happening. Those escalators are so steep.
It truly, it validated the fear of falling down. Now, every time I go down the escalators, I think, what if I just get shot out on my butt in front of everyone?
Oh no.
God, that would be horrible.
Ben and Adam eat a delicious serving of consolation fries on their way to Scandinavia, where they book it to Sweden to attempt the challenge before the end of the game day. The episode ends with an all-out sprint to make the train to IKEA. At the end of this episode, the score is 8-7, with Sam and Tom 1 ahead. To conclude our recap, I've come up with 2 possible titles to highlight what I felt was the most important moment of the episode. My first title is A Christmas Rose by Any Other Name, because I did feel like the Netherlands Bouquet Challenge was kind of a Shakespearean tragedy.
That is actually so real. That's a really good title.
And then the other alternate title I had, inspired by the absolute villainy of the Netherlands in this episode, was inspired by a Star Wars title, The Netherlands Strikes Back.
That's also perfect.
It sure did strike them down.
It really did.
Both teams really just left the Netherlands
brutal.
so defeated.
Do you have any potential titles for this episode?
I had one idea, which was just a quote from the episode, which is the downfall of hubris. That felt pretty appropriate for this episode.
I really feel like, depending on the outcome of the season, that might be an appropriate title for the entire season. I really think that we might see the full downfall of hubris.
That really is the direction it's going for both teams.
Truly. But kind of related to that, Jaya, I will hand things off to you for the Strat Chat.
Thank you, Casey. Welcome back to the Strat Chat, our segment where we break down the strategy and gameplay of the episode. In this episode, I feel like we saw a pretty clear departure from the previous strongholds of our strategy in this season, because previously, Sam and Tom seemed to be going for the claim countries fast, worry about transit timing, and then figure out if we have time to attempt a challenge strategy, where they were only locking down some of the countries they went through, whereas Badham were going for the lock as many countries as possible, even if it means getting to fewer places strategy. But in this episode, we see Badham pretty much just following Sam and Tom around and attempting to clean up after them. I have really mixed feelings about that strategy, because let's say on average, Badham can steal half of Tom and Sam's countries. This means that they'll lose if Tom and Sam can claim countries twice as fast as Badham can steal them, assuming that Tom and Sam don't lock anything. But they'll win if they manage to succeed on more than half of the challenges. However, the countries left unlocked so far have just been the ones with failable challenges, at least recently. France was a steal that wasn't attempted. And so they're way below the average success rate, which has been decently high in this season. How do you guys feel about Badham's strategy of following the team that's leaving things unlocked and just stealing their countries?
I don't feel good about this strategy at all. I feel like unless I'm missing something major, this feels like everything really has to go exactly right for their team for them to have a chance. And I think that the conversation would be different if the score was not so close. If Badham, for example, was way ahead or way behind, I would feel like maybe this high risk, high reward strategy would be okay. Like if they were really ahead, then they wouldn't need to focus so much on racking up countries. They could just focus on flipping those and kind of destabilizing Sam and Tom's base of countries. And if they were so behind that really their only chance of winning was to get that 2-point scoop and steal countries out from under Sam and Tom, maybe that would be the only viable path towards victory. But because right now it's so neck and neck and it's really still anyone's game, I feel like this strategy is really overlooking the fact that it will be challenging to succeed. And they even mentioned in this episode, Sam and Tom have failed challenges, but they haven't failed any challenges that the other team claimed the country for. And I think that is really key. Exactly.
I think that's so interesting. I hadn't thought about it with the perspective of the score, because it does make sense. If they were either really ahead or really behind, it would make a lot more sense to go for the strategy. Whereas I was just thinking about, like, man, I don't like this. This feels bad.
I don't know. I'm feeling pretty conflicted about it, because on the other hand, Ben and Adam are pretty confident with most challenges in most seasons. So obviously they did fail the Netherlands challenge, but I feel like their strategy seems to be, well, if we can put in the time and the effort that each challenge deserves, we can maximize our chances of success. So obviously they don't know what the Sweden and Denmark challenges are, but I sort of feel like with both of those challenges, it's possible that they'll succeed if they just take their time and think it through. So like for the Sweden challenge, I would predict that even if they miss the train, I think that they'll stay in Sweden until 10 a.m. the next morning and just try to succeed the next day. I think that they're more willing to be slow and methodical. And I think that ultimately the 2-point swing is going to have a big impact, because that means that like the next day they can hopefully pick up Sweden. And then if they go to Denmark and they can be really strategic and methodical about coming up with a good system for putting together the Legos, then I think maybe they might also be able to increase their odds of that one too. In which case, in a single day, they're doing a 4-point swing. That might be worth the risk. Whereas the alternative would be flying a long ways away, wasting a lot of time in the air, and getting to regions where it's hard to claim more than 1 or 2 countries at a time, which can only get them 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, I think on the topic of challenges, at least, the countries that we've had challenges for steals in so far have been challenges that were failed, not just things that weren't attempted. But in this episode, Tom and Sam are talking about if they can just speedrun country claiming without locking much of anything. And then Tom makes that point that I made previously, that if they can claim countries twice as fast as Badham can steal, then they'll win. And my read on this from Tom is that leaving everything unlocked rather than just the challenges that are failed means that the challenges to steal are going to be less failable, and so the countries will be easier to steal. What do you think about that for Tom and Sam? Do you think that speedrun strategy is viable at all?
I do think that it is viable. I think from the beginning of this season, I have been in the camp that speedrunning the country claiming is a significant strategic advantage. It won't alone win them the game, obviously, but I also think it's been very interesting where Ben and Adam have been very focused on stealing countries the whole game instead of leaving those steals for the end of the game, which I don't know if that was the right choice at this point, but I do agree that if Sam and Tom are just claiming countries and not even attempting the challenge, we don't know how failable those challenges are, and I don't think that Ben and Adam would have any reason to believe that they're not doable. What I do think makes this strategy significantly more viable for Sam and Tom is that at this point, I believe that they have more travel budget left over. They are set up very well to be able to hop around. And I think that that is just really narrowing the margin of error for Ben and Adam to be able to successfully steal enough countries to take the win.
And then also thinking just in terms of the strengths of both teams, it does seem like Ben and Adam's greatest strength is their ability to be really methodical with challenges. And then on the other side, Sam and Tom's greatest strength seems to be their ability to be strategic about their travel plans and their flight paths and stuff like that. Which means, I feel so conflicted about this because on the one hand, I think that Sam and Tom's best option is to speedrun. And then on the other hand, I think that Team Badham's best option is to try to clean up after, which means that I think that both teams are playing optimally. And also, I think that it's so over for both of them. Like, it just feels so well matched with these two strategies because they're so suited to each team, but also it's so risky.
Well, with that, as we go into a bit of hypotheticals with challenges and what they're going to be doing later, Kira, I'll hand it over to you for our next segment.
Thanks, Jaya. Welcome back to the Detour, a segment where we propose alternate paths that the teams could have taken, some detours, if you will, and discuss our thoughts on what might have happened. So, as we've been talking about, there were a lot of failed challenges this episode. Ben and Adam failed the Netherlands steal, and Sam and Tom failed both Sweden and Denmark. Both teams talked a fair amount about what would have happened if Sam and Tom had only locked one of either Sweden or Denmark. So Sam and Tom seem mostly convinced that just one country isn't appealing. but I feel pretty strongly that Ben and Adam would have tried to steal the unclaimed country anyway. But so there are two more possibilities here that I want to talk about. What if Ben and Adam had succeeded at stealing the Netherlands? What if Sam and Tom had locked both Sweden and Denmark? So, okay, let's start with this first one. Let's say Ben and Adam arrive in the Netherlands, end up already near the flower market when they start their timer, and then race through the market and somehow have the gut instinct to circle back and go to the flower stand in the train station, which would have been just within sprinting distance from the market. And let's say all of this happens and they're able to miraculously lock the Netherlands. What do you think Sam and Tom's best strategy would have been from here?
I honestly think that it feels to me like Sam and Tom are a bit ahead of Ben and Adam because of these two strategies that we've discussed. So I feel like Sam and Tom, maybe their best strategy there is just to accept that the Netherlands has been stolen and keep going on their route. Doing their best with the Denmark challenge, regardless of if they lock Denmark or if they fail it. And then continuing on to Helsinki and then going down towards Tallinn and taking that whole string of Eastern European countries that we haven't seen yet.
I think that the way the strategy might have been impacted is, I wonder if they would have felt that they had more pressure to lock some of the countries that they were heading towards. Especially, I think we've talked a lot about the psychological impact of some of the challenges being failed or being won. I think seeing Ben and Adam succeed at what Sam and Tom had thought the whole time was an undoable, impossible challenge. I think they really would have had to reconsider their assumption that Ben and Adam wouldn't be able to lock every country following up on the tail end. And I wonder if that would have meant that they tried to budget some more time into attempting challenges, maybe try to go for less accessible countries that Ben and Adam wouldn't be able to get to as easily. I don't know that they would have necessarily immediately changed their strategy, but I do think they would have some questions.
Yeah, I think the speedrun strategy would have felt worse to do.
Yeah.
Had Ben and Adam just stolen the country that they said was the hardest and the most likely to be impossible challenge.
Yeah, so then I wonder if they would have done something more similar to their Hungary, Czechia, Slovakia run, where they could come up with a route that's really tight for time, but that they still are giving themselves enough time to get away from the airport, attempt the challenge. Whereas it seems like now their current strategy is to not even get away from the airport at all, not even to look at the challenge to see if they want to attempt it.
Yeah, and I think that's challenging to say because the Austria, Czechia, Slovakia, Hungary gambit, they were on trains and buses that whole time. And so they didn't need to, travel 3 miles away from the station in order to start the challenge. They could just open the challenge whenever they found a spot to.
Yeah.
So I think with the more flying that it looks like they're going to be doing in the next few days, making that decision would have been a bit tougher for them.
Now, on the other side, let's say Sam and Tom waited until 10 a.m. and managed to lock Sweden with the IKEA challenge. And then they raced back into Copenhagen and came up with some flawless mind reader system to help them work just a little bit faster on the Lego challenge. And let's say they managed to lock both countries before Ben and Adam's flight to Copenhagen would have even arrived. Do you think this would have changed Sam and Tom's strategy moving forward? And also, what's the move for Ben and Adam?
I think that, again, the first thing coming to mind is just the psychology of it. I think Sam and Tom would be a lot more comfortable just racking up countries going forward, knowing that those countries aren't vulnerable to that steal. Because at that point, before Denmark and Sweden, the Netherlands was the only unlocked country on their end. And I think that that would have really instilled in them a faith in just racking up more countries because they don't have as much wiggle room. I think Ben and Adam would really have to kind of go back to the drawing board and completely reconsider. It would have appeared that the risky strategy was not working. Maybe they would have headed down to Spain and Portugal like they had originally considered the day before. I don't know what they would have done.
At least for that second bit of what Ben and Adam could have or would have done, the move there might have been, they're already in the Netherlands, it's already decently far north. They might have just gone to Helsinki and Tallinn and tried to steal that Eastern European line before Sam and Tom could get there from Denmark. Because I think if they had seen Sam and Tom book it through Sweden, lock down Sweden, and maybe lock down Denmark even before they leave the Netherlands, I don't think they would have locked Denmark before they left the Netherlands. But had they seen them lock down Sweden, they might have just decided, okay, let's just get ahead of them, swoop these countries out from under them, and make them figure out what the next move is.
Yeah, I suppose that's where it really comes down to it's better to be the first person into the country because then the burden is on the other person to steal. So if they could physically get into Estonia or Latvia, then when Sam and Tom would be doing that northeastern Europe route, they would then have the burden of needing to do the challenge. All right, well, with that, I'll pass things over to Casey.
Thanks, Kira. It is my turn to torture you both with a tricky little game.
Uh-oh.
In this episode, we trace a few different toys or games back to their origin countries. Lego in Denmark, Jungle Skog in Sweden, and even Angry Birds in Finland. I have a list of toys, and it is up to you to match them to the Schengen area country of the company's origin.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm gonna do so bad at this.
It's a segment I'm calling Game, Set, Match. Because it's a game and you match them. We don't need to question it too much. Okay.
I love that.
First, Geomag. This toy is made of magnetic spheres and bars, which you can connect together to form different shapes. The Wikipedia page for this toy shows the bars and spheres in the shape of an icosahedron, which has 20 faces of equilateral triangles and 12 vertices in the sphere.
It's a D20?
It's a D20.
Okay, I think I've had these toys before.
I also think we've had them.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
These are popular toys. What country do you think the Geomag toys are from?
I think that is Germany, based on no thought.
I am gonna say it's Austria.
Unfortunately, you are both wrong. This is from Italy.
Ooh.
The Geomag toys were first produced in 1999 by Città del Sole, an Italian toy store chain. Next, these are handmade soft troll toys made from fabric, leather, and skin. No, I don't know what kind of skin, and I didn't want to research too hard to find out. These trolls have fluffy hair and beak-like noses, and were popular enough, along with other toys from this company's product list, to inspire a theme park.
Until that last bit, my best guess was gonna be Norway.
I was also going to say Norway.
But a theme park? Where the hell would a toy company inspire a theme park? That feels kind of French.
I'm sticking with Norway.
I think I'm also gonna go Norway, but I think I'm gonna regret it.
Oh, you're both so close. This was Finland.
I was going to switch to Finland.
The Finnish art studio Atelier Fauni made these troll toys called Soupy Trolls and also produced Moomin figurines. Next, swimming dolls. These dolls were first manufactured in the 1920s, innovating on the baby doll industry by creating a doll out of material that could be played with in water. They look like regular dolls, aka haunting and cursed, but hey, you could take them swimming.
Ooh, okay, 1920s.
France. I'm going to go France.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, France might have swimming dolls. I'm gonna say France.
You both are correct. This is
Yay!
France.
Yay!
The toy company Petite Colin still makes swimming dolls today, about 100 years after they were first made.
Wow.
Damn.
Good for them.
Next, Kobe block toys. These look really similar to Lego sets. And in fact, the two types of blocks are compatible. You could build with both together. However, unlike Lego sets, these Kobe blocks are primarily military themed, with different elements of warfare, weapons, and military vehicles.
Oh my god, I've definitely seen these before. I want to say Germany. It's close to Denmark, and there were wars there.
There were
It is
wars
actually
there.
crazy how few thoughts I have in my head right now. like, center on my screen right now is the word Latvia. So that's the one I'm going to go with, even though it
Nice.
it can't be right. But I just cannot even begin to fathom.
These are from Poland.
Okay, I wasn't
Fucking
so
damn it, that
far
was my
off.
second guess. I was sorry, I just peaked my audio. I was so close to saying that my second guess was Poland.
I could see in your eyes. Lego does not sell sets with weapons, although they do occasionally sell sets of historic aircraft, like the 2021 set of the Sopwith Camel. On to our last toy, Squirmals. You might know these toys as snoots, wiggle worms, or worms on a string. These are fuzzy little creatures with eyes and a string, which you could use to wriggle them around like real live worms. What I will say is, this was intended as a trick question, but I feel bad because they've been so hard. So worms on a string were invented by the US branch of this company, but what Schengen area country started the company that created worms on a string?
I'm going Bulgaria.
I'm going Netherlands.
This was Germany.
Oh no.
So, while worms on a string were invented by the US branch of this company, the company is called Ilfelder Importing Company, originally founded in Germany as a pencil factory. I thought it was really interesting to think about the progression from pencils to worms.
They're sort of a pencil shape. They have the kind of snout that's like a sharpened pencil. You sell them to children.
I feel like you could definitely make it, it's a stretch, but it's like how the Michelin tire company also has the Michelin guide for restaurants and hotels.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Well, turns out these toy companies were very tricky, but you both got one, you got France. Hooray!
Yay!
Let's celebrate that as a win.
Honestly, it does feel appropriate that this was really an It's So Over episode for everyone.
Yeah.
Including us.
But moving into our last segment, let's do our rosebud thorns. Jaya, do you want to start us off?
I would love nothing else. So my rose for this episode, I had two, and they're both just, I love Tom Scott. I'm so glad he gave a kid the Legos in the train station. That was great. And second, you know when he said Lento Kenta means airport?
Yeah.
That was a reference to a really old video of his. That show is so fun. My thorn is that I'm still kind of waffling back and forth about who I'm rooting for because I do really love both of the teams. And so this was an episode of just being so stressed constantly.
Yeah.
Because I wanted both of them to win. I wanted Sam and Tom to get the Legos and be happy about it, but I also wanted Badam to get the flowers. Oh, it was stressful. And my bud, I really hope they get Amy a Jungle Skog. The Scandinavian challenges have been things that I think I personally would be very powerful at, because I already sent my partner on a quest for a Jungle Skog, which lived in their living room until the next time one of us drove the 600 miles between us. So I have a Jungle Skog. I just did a big Lego set, and I'm going to chalk this up to my Nordic brethren being more powerful than Sam's Nordic brethren.
Speak on it.
My second bud, though, is that this week they announced that they're filming season 14 in South Korea. And this was truly number 2 on my list of places without seasons that could definitely work without a very different game format. And also extremely high on the list of, please have you unpacked your white American colonial baggage enough? This place would be great for a season, but you're only doing things that seem comfortable or exotic in an imperial and oriental way, and there's a lot to unpack there. I'm really excited to see what happens in season 14, and I would like to propose that we add a round of seeds to our Rosebud Thorn, either for a prediction about South Korea or something that you're just excited to see. And I will start by saying that my seed for season 14 is that I think the game, because the rail network is really asymmetrical towards Seoul, but it's pretty good and pretty fast, I think it might be like a tower defense system where one person's in Seoul and the other two need to like bombard them.
Whoa.
Oh, whoa, that's cool.
I love that idea.
I think that would be really fun.
Kira, what about you? What is your rose, bud, thorn, and seed?
My rose is that truly my heart was pounding the entire episode out of my chest. And to me, that's the sign of a perfect episode. It was just so thrilling and stressful and exciting. If I needed to pick just one moment, I think it's going to be the same as Jaya's, where Tom once again vowed to leave no trace and give away the Lego set. I thought that was very sweet. My thorn is that it's so over for everyone. It was such a brutal episode, and I think specifically my thorn is that both teams gave themselves psychic damage right after failing challenges by immediately seeing how they could have succeeded. So with Badam immediately finding the mimosa and Sam and Tom immediately finding what they think will be the easier Lego set.
Yeah.
That's just so brutal. My bud is that I feel like Ben and Adam are going to have some kind of Lego telepathy, and I think they're going to absolutely crush the Denmark challenge. That's my thought. And then my seed for season 14, I do think it's going to be a race of some kind. I'm not really sure exactly what. One thought that I think is maybe unlikely is that they could be doing tag, but not across Europe. Or my other thought, because it would be kind of unusual for them to be doing tag outside of Europe, is maybe they're doing some kind of race to a location outside of Seoul, or like trying to get a certain radius away from Seoul, but I'm not really sure what any of the mechanics would be. I do predict that it'll be a race.
That is so interesting. For me, my Christmas rose of this episode was that even though Sam and Tom ultimately failed the Denmark challenge, I thought it was so wholesome to see just great supportive communication between those two as they played with toys. I thought it was very sweet, very entertaining. My thorn was that it was so stressful to see Ben and Adam sprinting around to try to complete the Netherlands bouquet challenge. I really had been convinced all along that they weren't going to succeed, but I was hoping for a last-minute desert power channeling for them to just come out there and completely nail it. It was just a risky approach, and it was even more of a bummer when it didn't pay off. My flower market bud is that I'm very excited to see the Angry Birds challenge from Sam and Tom, and to see Ben and Adam attempting the IKEA and Lego challenges. I feel like all of those will be very entertaining to see, but definitely very failable. So I just can't really predict what the outcome will be. But speaking of predictions, my seed for South Korea is that I really think it's going to be a new game system. At first, I maybe thought, okay, it's round robin with one runner/hider type and two chaser/seeker types, but I don't think it will be tag just yet. I don't think it will be hide and seek. I think it'll be something completely new. I have no idea, and I'm very excited. With that excitement for the next season, thank you for waiting at Baggage Claim. Let us know your thoughts on socials at baggageclaimpod or over email in the episode description. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a comment or give us a follow. We'll see you next week at the green baggage claim. It's completely normal. It's just green. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
What
part of Sumpitrol did you think would give away the country?
I guess it's spelled Sumppi, which I feel like does kind of feel like Nordic.
I'm going to be honest, that sounds Italian to me. If you had sent me the way that's spelled, I would have been like, Sumpitrolls.
Oh, no.
It's the double P that would make me think it might be Nordic.
Yes. It's the I that makes me think it's Italian.